Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. All right, welcome to another episode of Childless and Moving Onward. I am thrilled to have Carrie Brauninger here as my guest, who used to live in Colorado and has been visiting away for a while, so I haven't gotten to see her lately. So welcome again, and Carrie, I'm so thrilled to have you here. Tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Gail. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here too. Just for your audience, Gail is one of the first childless women that I met when I took the risk and took the plunge to start poking around on Instagram in the childless, not by choice community. And then lo and behold, you lived near me and we still have contact. So you never know what connections that you'll make on the internet that will be really valuable. So I'll start there, but a little bit about me. My name is Carrie. And I am childless, not by choice. I am childless, not by choice, really due to circumstance. I am single and went through a whole kind of rigmarole around that. And then I have also had a hysterectomy due to some medical stuff, but I started to identify as childless, not by choice, even prior to the hysterectomy. The hysterectomy was just kind of the period at the end of the sentence of that. And I think it was 43 or 44 when I had the hysterectomy. But yeah, I always thought I would have kids, assumed I would have kids. Didn't occur to me that I wouldn't have kids if I wanted them. I was like, well, if you don't have kids, it's because you didn't want them. And time just kept ticking and going and it wasn't happening. Of course, I think with many women who are childless, not by choice, by circumstance, considered adoption, considered doing it on my own, considered all of those things. And for a variety of reasons, which I can talk about if that's of interest, just decided that wasn't for me. So now I am trying to show representation of somebody who's out here and went through the grief, I will say, and, of coming out the other side of it. And I'm looking to give a voice to let other women know you can enjoy your life and find meaning in your life and value in your life. Even if you can't see it right now, I was you, and it does get better. I know that can be hard to hear, but it does.
Yeah, it can be hard to hear for some. And they but I don't want anything else. And just know that we don't say these things as like, oh, it's an equal substitute. I mean, for some women that does happen. They're like, you know what? I'm glad that my life turned out differently and I love my life. But for some of us, it's different. It's not equal. It's not less than.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a very long time, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to live like my like B-side life. I guess this will be like good enough, or I guess I have to like put up with this. And I was there for a long time. And, that's where I was. And that was good enough at the time. Like I was just trying to get through it. And I still have those days to, just because I feel like I'm further along now, in no way means I don't have things that happen or days where I'm like, oh no, how did this happen? Blaming myself, all of those things that come up. Worried, have a lot of anxiety around the future and what it'll mean to not have kids in the future even. And I just feel like I have less of those moments than I used to. And it was a long journey and a long haul to get there, because there's just not a lot of representation of women who are doing okay and don't have kids, even though they wanted them. I feel like we see like the spectrums, women who are like, I never wanted kids. I'm glad I don't have kids. And then the women who, all of those words that come up when we talk about women who don't have kids.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. We're partly unrepresentative or underrepresented, but in some ways I think there's representation out there, but other people they don't want to hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
quiet. I'll speak for me. I've there was a lot of shame and embarrassment about being a woman of a certain age and being single, being a woman of a certain age and not having kids. And so it wasn't something that I was leading with. I felt an immense amount of pain, immense amount of psychological pain around it. Um, and so it wasn't something I was bringing up. And to be quite honest, I don't even think I had words around it to even
Yeah.
be able to bring it up. And P.S., I'm a therapist. And it wasn't coming to me. And so, and it's invisible to other people, right? And so people weren't asking. Or if they were asking, they were super clumsy around it. And I was like, I want out of this conversation.
Yeah.
So it just felt really isolating.
Yeah.
And so I think people are quiet about it.
Yeah. People don't want to hear it. One, they think, just get over it. You can't miss what you never had. And then the other thing is, other people get uncomfortable
Yeah.
about our childlessness, and so they're like, the way they make themselves like pull away from their uncomfortableness, if you will, is, let's not talk about it, or the platitude, oh,
Yeah.
you're better off without kids. Kids are expensive, that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, don't make your discomfort over my situation something I need to take away from you.
Yeah, the book The Next Happy by Tracy Clintus, she has like a chapter on platitudes, and I reread it every so often
Oh,
because she talks about it in ways of, and I hope that I'm remembering it accurately, so I apologize if I'm not, but really talks about platitudes are things people say in order to shut down the conversation because of
yes.
discomfort, right? And it works
Yeah,
because you're
it
kind
does.
of, for me, I was kind of like, maybe I should be grateful about all that I have, and um, it's, there's not tradition or not tradition, there's not ritual around this type of grief.
Yeah.
And so people start blurting and it gets awkward for all of us very
Yes.
quickly, or they bring out the platitudes, which, while they may not be intended this way, they can be received as hollow, um, minimizing. Well, I'm just going to say this to get us out of it because I done stepped in it now. And it's it's just awkward.
Yeah. Or the other option is the pity.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I just like, oh, I'm so sorry. But when I tell people, sometimes they don't necessarily say that to me. They get silent. But then when I talk about what I do, oh, that's so good of you.
yeah,
Women need you. And then, let me talk about something else. And it's like, take your pity somewhere else,
yeah.
please. I don't need your pity. And it just makes it so much worse and shows me that you don't really care. You're trying to make yourself feel better. Yeah.
Yeah, or for me, I will less so now because I'm able to just like, you know, be like, okay, well, you're
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But,
Yeah.
you know, when when I'm having a bad day or I'm not in that space, my perception around that is, oh, I'm living her worst nightmare.
Yeah.
That makes me feel great.
Yeah.
Like literally, this person couldn't think of anything worse apparently than not having kids.
Right.
And I understand that from the concept of people loving their children and they find such joy and value and all of that in that. But there's other ways to find that. And just because that's where you get your fill in the blank,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that that's the only place that
Right.
someone can get it.
Right. And it doesn't mean that somebody getting that, whatever, that purpose in life, the meaning in life from some other role, it doesn't mean we're less than.
Right,
Right.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to something because you
Yeah.
said, oh, if there's interest in hearing about this more. And
Okay.
I think there's a lot of interest. I'm very interested, and I know other women are, about this idea that, oh, but there's other things you could have done, right?
Yeah.
You could have adopted, you could have done single motherhood, all of
Yeah.
that. Um, and people just don't get it. So I would love to hear your take on that and your explanation why it, not everything is not for everyone.
Yeah.
And there's so much that people don't understand about it. They go, oh, just adopt. No, there's no such thing as just adopt.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as, oh, just become a single mother. So I'm going to leave it at that and let you take
Yeah.
it from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this comes up a lot. You know, I have a YouTube channel, and so I get this stuff in the comments all the time. And it's ultimately we label things, and the community of people who don't have kids is no different. I think in a perfect world, I say I'm a person without children. And in terms of where I'm going to find the most relatability, it is in terms of the grief and like support, it's with people who are childless, not by choice. So I have no problem using that language, even describing myself who it's circumstances, a bunch, like the Swiss cheese aligned, right? In terms of a
Yeah.
lot of different things need to line up in order for this to happen. And they did. And if, being completely honest, there are some things that looking back, yeah, I probably wish I did some things differently in order to move on from some things. But, I respect and value people who make a choice to do it on their own, to adopt, to have a sperm donor or egg donor or whatever they need to do. That just wasn't the choice for me. I think I had a concept of how I always imagined myself being a mom, within the context in which I would do that, the framework in which I would do that. And I like being a single mom sounds really hard. And I didn't want to like start that in my 40s. And so it wasn't the right choice for me. I am all of that to say, I had a concept of how I wanted to raise a child. It wasn't by myself. I also, keep in mind, I'm starting to like have this slow descent into a lot of anxiety and worry about it. And so I will be transparent and say, like, my mental health probably wasn't great, in that moment either, because I'm like, oh, wow, the universe is really going to do me this way. I am not finding a partner. I am not having kids. And so the idea of going out there and doing it felt very overwhelming, right, on myself. Now, I did freeze my eggs.
Okay.
So it isn't as if I didn't, not that I need to say this, it isn't as if that I didn't try and do something to extend my ability to do that. I think I was 38 or 39 and I froze my eggs because I was like, I got to extend this. And knowing my luck, I'd meet somebody and then boom, something wouldn't be able to happen. But it just didn't work out that way. And I think that's okay now.
Yeah. Yeah. And Do you get a lot of comments that, well, you made a choice, so
Yeah.
it's not
Oh, yeah.
not by choice? Yeah, I do
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. And I'm like,
Yeah,
why are you trying to tell me about my feelings?
right, right.
So, and that's like another underbelly of this. Why does it matter?
Thank you.
Why does it matter? People can grieve things that they made a choice around. People can grieve things that they didn't make a choice around. People can grieve things that maybe they feel like they didn't actually have a choice, but that's the way things ended up.
Yeah,
And I sometimes wonder, and I, don't want to get into like the psyche of the world, but I do sometimes wonder that it's for some people, it is such a scary proposition that they have to hang on to the fact that somebody chooses it
yeah,
in
yeah,
order to, you know, not feel like, oh Lord, I hope that doesn't happen to me.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
because listen, we live in a culture where if you just keep trying, don't give up, if you really want it,
Right.
which isn't true. Sometimes you
No,
do have to give up, right? For lack of a better word.
right. And it's interesting that people don't recognize there's other reasons why somebody might not have children, even though you want them, besides infertility. Now, there are plenty of people who misunderstand and think, "Oh, even if you have infertility, just have IVF and there you go." And that's not true.
Or adopt.
But or adopt, right. But they really don't recognize there are so many other circumstances besides infertility that lead to not having children that you want. Have you found that to be the case?
Oh, yes. And, you know, while infertility isn't my story, that's an extremely painful process to go through. And, sometimes, it, you're traumatized after coming out of something like that. I would imagine, but it's
Yeah.
not a story in which, oh, well, that didn't work. I'll go to this now. No, you just don't. I mean, and it's expensive. Not
Yeah.
everybody has access.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what type of candidate I would have been to adopt as a single woman in her 40s, right? Um, and all of that to say, to your point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
But yes, people absolutely um, try and problem solve.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Right.
that? Okay. Have you heard of, yeah, please stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please
I bet
stop.
I've heard
Yeah.
of it. I bet I've thought of it.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum,
Yeah.
compulsively at
Exactly.
3 a.m.
Yes.
for years.
Yes,
Thank you.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love for you to tell my audience what you do.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in the childless, not by choice community, I am co-founder of a community called Sonder Sisterhood. The word Sonder, it means kind of everybody has a story. You never know what someone's going through or what their story is. And it is a community for women who are single and childless, not by choice. And that community really looks like YouTube is where I show up the most on it. I have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of like education or content related to coping, grief, acceptance. I do some vlogs just to try and show like you can actually have some fun, you can do things. Try and show a balanced approach to my life. Here are the hard parts and here are the good things, and try not to only show one side of that because that's not anybody's life.
Right.
Um, and really wanting to be showing it in kind of a regular person uh, format. And I am a social worker by training. I'm a therapist. So I do have a skill set, I think, in order to talk about grief, distortions, how the environment plays a role in how we're thinking about things, all or nothing, coping. And I kind of infuse the social work side of me, the human side of me, the dog mom side of me. And I hope hopefully people find it valuable. We have
Yeah.
a good community. I have some regulars over there, and it's a lot of fun. Oh, and I do some book clubs and, specific videos around like Mother's Day or holidays, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, so now that you brought up Gavin,
Yeah.
tell us about Gavin. So just we we met on Instagram, found out we were local, met for coffee, um wanted to bring our dogs, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, we definitely have that love for our
Yeah.
dogs.
Gavin's been a game changer for me. I never tell people go get a dog because they're huge responsibilities. So, you need to really think through it and all of that jazz. And Gavin is something for me to love. He brought me out of kind of my grief a little bit, not a little bit, a lot bit. He is somebody that I enjoy doing things with, and he makes me laugh. He's a good snuggle buddy. He's a good snuggler. And he just loves life. And he is an extrovert. He loves people. So he gets me out of my shell. I'm talking to people more than I've ever talked. But he is my Great Dane. And he's 125 pounds. And he's just wonderful. He annoys me at times because he's demanding and bossy and psychologically manipulative. But he is a meaning and purpose in my life. So he's been really helpful in terms of grief and just getting me to go try new things.
Yeah. Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah,
What they bring out in us.
I
Yeah.
know.
They're again, yeah, and I agree. Like don't just go get a dog because
Yeah,
they are a responsibility, but it's a game changer. My first dog, not growing up, when I was on my own, was just I wanted to write a book at
yeah,
the time of stories, just of the things that he did that I did with him, and title it. His name was Pongo. Pongo, my Prozac, because he
yeah,
truly was like this antidepressant.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. No, he's just,
So,
I think when sometimes you feel unseen or isolated because you're going through something that feels very, very difficult that you don't feel like others can relate to. He just was able to step in and be present for me, show up for me. And I felt really connected, I guess is what I would say. I still do. I mean, now I sometimes worry, am I too enmeshed with my dog? Um, but
I
who
personally,
cares?
I don't think that that's
Who
possible
cares?
because
Yeah.
if it is, then I'm in trouble. I'm in
Yeah. But
trouble
he's
too. So,
been wonderful in terms of being able to get out of the solely identifying as somebody who's single and doesn't have kids.
yeah.
Like he was like that prompt to be like, oh, well, I'm actually all these other things, and there's actually these other things I like to do. Um, so he's been my buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I saved my kid name for her. I named it my dog.
Okay.
That's why.
I
I
love
also
that.
like. I liked. I was went to high school in the '90s, so I liked Bush. And then there's a TV show called Gavin and Stacey that my
Oh,
mom and I love. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, and so
okay.
that's where I
All
got
right.
Gavin.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, so I know you and I have talked in the past about like creating journals that
yeah,
are geared towards women who are childless not by choice. But I love this creation you have just told me
Yeah.
about. So tell everybody else about this.
So yeah, I wanted to do something where specifically for women who don't have children and maybe struggling around that, feeling really isolated around that. As I shared earlier, I think the feeling really unseen and alone was something that I really struggled with. And so I have created through the help of AI, of course, because it's 2025, a coloring book and kind of some journaling prompts within the coloring book. And my intention around this book is that people will get this book and reach for this book and color in it when they feel like they need that reminder that they're not alone, that others are out there too. They need some distraction and feeling like while they may be coloring alone physically, that there's a group of us doing it too. And psychologically, you're not alone. And so what I've done is kind of created this book where there's 24 images, each representing like a different stage or feeling that I went through related to childlessness. So one is healing, and the picture then represents healing. And then after you finish coloring the picture behind that, then there's a journaling page with a prompt and a quote that is related to healing. And so my hope is that people will have a coping opportunity that's kind of soothing, and then also be able to read something that gets their brain going a little bit, and then they can journal a little bit about their feelings, and then know that you're doing it with a bunch of other people who can relate to this side of you and this part of your life. It's called Not Less, and it's on Amazon.
Oh, I love that. Can't wait to get mine. So,
Yeah. Oh,
all
thank
right.
you. I just bought some like new markers and colored pencils. And I'm like, oh, that, when you like start coloring and it's that first
Yes.
kind of thing, the brightness of it, it's just like a nice spark.
Yep.
So, and I can't wait to hear how people like it. And I'm excited.
Yeah. And when you first crack open that marker
Yeah.
and get that, for some of us, I like that first initial smell. Some people I know it kind of
Yep.
nauseates them, but anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a sucker for good quotes, especially like if they're quotes that like are easy enough to remember and things like that. So coloring book, but also some really wonderful quotes that I think
Yeah.
can be really helpful in
Okay.
terms of trying to reframe the negative stuff that we tell ourselves around what it
Yeah.
means to not have kids.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, where can people find you?
Yes. So Sonder Sisterhood on YouTube, that is where I'm most present. I am shocked that I love putting myself on the internet. But I really enjoy it. I'm really passionate about, I know that word is overused, but I am about the community that we're growing. And then I'm also on Instagram at Sonder Sisterhood. And then I also have an Instagram account that's called The Other Path CO. So you can find me in those places.
Okay. And that information will be in the show notes. So if you missed it, don't worry that you'll get it if you
Yeah.
couldn't write it down. So as we're kind of wrapping things up, what are some takeaways that you would like this audience, or even if these are not people who are childless not by choice, maybe they are people who are here to support somebody who's childless not by choice. What messages would you like to leave with them?
Yeah.
Message or messages?
Yeah. So I think the number one, I think community is really important. And I know some of us get real anxious at the thought of like going into a group that we don't know. We've never been there before, especially if it's in person. I get it. And start with something that feels a little less risky, like following somebody on Instagram or following somebody on YouTube, where you're just even parallel to it. And then when you're ready, you can dip your toe in a little bit more and more. So community was a big game changer for me.
Yeah.
I will also say that what you're experiencing is grief. It's disenfranchised grief. It's not you being ungrateful. It's not you being negative and all the other things that sometimes we're told. But this is how grief can manifest itself sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And so I just really encourage people to remind themselves of that. If it feels overwhelming, if you're having trouble seeing the future, consider seeing a therapist as well. And as a therapist, I feel like I got to put that out there.
Yeah,
It can be
absolutely.
real helpful. If you are someone who's trying to support somebody who's childless, not by choice, it's okay to ask and it's okay to bring it up. I guarantee you bringing it up isn't going to make them think about it even more. It's already there. They'll feel appreciated around it. And everyone's different. There's no do this and everybody will respond the same way. So ask your loved one, hey, I imagine this is really hard for you. Is this really hard for you? And how can I support you in a way in which you feel supported? And that last part is really important.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Sorry, I don't know if you can
That's okay. I
hear.
hear Gavin like grumbly a little in the background. So we
Okay.
might get dueling dogs here.
Yes, very different sizes. 120 pounds, and this one that's making all the noise is 17 pounds.
Yeah. Those are the
So,
ones you scared up.
this one he should be. Yeah. Anyway, sorry for if you heard that noise, but it should be over now.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Carrie. I've been looking forward to this. I've wanted to have you on for a while, so I'm really grateful you were able to make the time. And again, all of Carrie's information will be in the show notes. And that is it for this episode. Looking forward to being with you again next week.
Yeah,
Bye. I appreciate you listening. If you liked this episode, help get the word out to others who are looking for this same help by giving it a 5-star rating, and please take 2 minutes to leave a meaningful review. It's easy to do. Just scroll down to the ratings and review section and tap on the stars to rate the show and tap on write a review. I greatly appreciate it, and you'll be helping others out too. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.